We're on Ninth Lit, and we're going to be reading Song of Roland. And let me begin. It's page 172, 229. A noble sight is the emir this day. By the way, this passage we just read yesterday, it says they were talking about what a warrior he was. He spurs his steed. He goes galloping over a dike. He vaults over this land, some 50 feet, and all the kingdoms applaud. That very scene is going to be mirrored in just a few pages, and Charlemagne will do the exact same thing. His horse will leap in the air, and his troops. These two are headed for a fight, the two literally with each other. That would never happen in real life, but here the two kings are actually going to fight on the field. So we start at 229. A noble sight is the emir this day. White is his beard as any flower on spray. He is in council a man discreet and sage, and the battle stubborn and undismayed. And Malpramus his son's knight of praise. Stalwart and tall, a credit to his race. He tells his father, Sir, let us ride away. If we see Carlin, I shall be much amazed. Quoth Baligan, we shall, for he is brave. In many a jest he fills an honored page. But his great nephew Roland is lost and slain. He has no strength our onslaught to sustain. So the battle hadn't started, but we're going to skip. So get your pencil. We're going to skip 230 and 231. We're going to skip 232, 233, and 234. And we will pick it up at the bottom. I'll read this too, this one at the bottom. Let's see what we have skipped. Let's see, 74. All right, so foreshadowing on 174. Look at the top of the page. We didn't read it, but one of the things that the emir does, he gives gifts in advance. He says, anybody who can kill, Charlemagne, you're going to get this one, like a bounty on his head. But so he gave his son some, I think it's his son, but anyway, he gave him some lands, and it says at the top of the page, and now is his, talking about the land. That land he'll never see. Ne'er of that fief was he vested nor seized. So it tells us he will not live long enough to ever see the land that Baligan just offered him.
Wait, Roland,
This is Baligan offered one of his generals a big kingdom, and he will never live to see it. So that's 75. And then 70, I think we've actually answered it. He describes him, we talked about it earlier, about being such a great guy and noble man. Why does the author build him up so much? Why does he make him look so great? Most of them he doesn't. They're cowards, they're sneaky, whatever, yeah.
So when Charlemagne beats him, it'll make them seem even greater?
Of course. Great answer. You don't want the bad guy. Batman beats up a little kid. He's a bad guy, If you defeat somebody who's weaker than you, it doesn't do you any credit. So if you're writing a story, reading one, you want the bad guy to be equal to the good guy in many ways, so that you can. It makes the victory even greater.
who's the one that will, foreshadowing that he won't be able to see the land?
I think it's one of his generals. It may have been his son. It's really kind of irrelevant who it is, but it's just an example of how many people are going to die. So we just did 76. Ryan answered that. And so we will, we're going to pick up reading here, but we can't answer 77 yet. So see. We skipped, let me just double check it. We skipped 217, 218, 219, 220, right? These are we skipped?
So we skipped 230, 31, and 32, 33, and 34.
Okay. All right, so we are now on the bottom of page 175, and that's gonna be Freddie.
Alright, the graven near is mighty and renowned, the dragon standeth before and before his powers, the flag of Termagant and of Mayhem, and of Apollyon and image piercing foul, many Canaanites escort them all around, and as soon as they go, that's proclaim aloud. Who speaks protection by all these gods of ours, let him fall prostrate and offer prayer devout. Their heads and faces the pagans all bow down, all their brave helms they beat upon the ground. The French all cry, he'll die this day be found, may you in the sides and all your works found. O Lord our God, keep Caroline, keep Carlin safe and sound, and his great name will fight his battle out.
Thank you, you had a question?
Yeah, question 77 is from, what I say, 232.
Right, so I'll answer that one, so we can't answer 77. What we skipped was a catalog of the Saracen military units, their columns. Remember we skipped these two, we got a list of all the French columns, you know, and this commander is leading these men, and this commander is leading these men, Burgundians, Frisians, Flemings, you know, there are various, and we said that army represented an international army. Well, the same thing is true, of course, because it's mirroring with Balagan. He has a even bigger army, but the writer spends less time talking about it. He has 30 columns as opposed to 10 columns of the French, but they also are international. They're more Middle Eastern international. So this is a Middle Eastern war against West Europe. So this is a European Middle Eastern war. It's a Christian Islam war. There are a lot of aspects to how the writer has created this huge battle. So that's 77. You have the same kind of list or catalog that we did earlier. Now, one thing I want to say here is, what does the emir have on his shield or his standard? Standard is a type of flag that hangs from a staff. You know what's the picture that's on his standard? Yeah.
An image of Apollyon?
Well, let's see. An Apollyon, an image found. Yeah.
Okay.
Well, it's a dragon standard, the flag of Termagant and Mahoon and Apollyon, an image fierce. So yeah, that's true. But also there's a dragon. So what does the dragon represent? You wouldn't see a Western king in a war like this, yeah.
The dragon like represents great, or and Beowulf.
Right? In a larger sense, what does a dragon represent? Every time you see a dragon in the Bible, and there are not that many,
Fire.
it always has fire, but who does he represent? The
Satan.
Satan. The dragon is a symbol of Satan. So this is bigger than Christianity versus Islam. This is between God and Satan here. So that's how big this battle is, according to the writer.
Okay, so the dragon on whose shield again?
That would be Balagan's shield. All right, so why don't we come up to Fiona?
Okay, 236.
Yes.
A prudent man is sitting near and wise. He calls his son into the king's aside. Parents, my lord, step forward now and ride. All my columns I'll have you lead and guide. Safe through reserves I'd keep of warriors tried. Firstly the Turks, next the Malian knights, and for the third the giants of Malfros. And I myself will lead the host
was kind of, the battle hadn't even begun yet, but he's deploying his men in this order. Hey,
Huge are the hosts, their columns show right brave. Betwixt the two is neither hill nor dale, forest nor wood, cover and none to take. In open country they stand there face to face. Quoth Baligan, my Paynim's up away. Ride forward now the battle to engage. In beer of olive fern the flag has raised, and on
precious.
Precious, the Paynims call my name. The French all shout, great loss you'll have this day, and loudly cry, Mount joy again. The Emperor Charles bids all the trumpets bray, and elephant sounds louder still than they. The Paynims cry, Charles to the final array, battle will have, it will be grim and great.
Right, so, it should start any minute now, so, Dave.
238.
Yeah.
Large is the plain and widely spread the wold. Bright shines the helms with jewels set in gold, the gleaming shields, the burning saffron folds, the glittering spears from which the pennons float. The clarions bray with loud and piercing notes. High sounds the charge from Oliphant's clear throat. Now the emir bids Canabius approach. He is his brother. Authority is his throne. To Val Sevray extends his sovereign hold. He bids him look where Carlin's columns go. Lo, there, the pride of far-famed France behold, and there among them the emperor riding bold, in the rear ranks amid those long beards old. Over their byrnies they've let their beards outflow, which are as wide as any driven snow. With lance and spear these men will strike good blows. We shall have battle, it will be hard and close. A fight whose like has never yet been known. Far as a man a peeled white wand could throw, King Baligan before his people goes, and for his speech says but one word alone. Paynims, come on, I'm off to fight the foe. He takes the shaft of his good spear right so, and against Carlin he turns and points the broach.
Did you see any hyperbole and all that?
Yes, sir.
A fight whose like has never yet been known. So this is the greatest battle ever. There will be such a battle, the Battle of Armageddon. At the end of time, they're actually, so like writers are trying to duplicate that in a way. You know, this is the greatest thing, a truly world war. Matthew.
King Charlemagne, oh wait, I'll thank you.
Yeah.
King Charlemagne, when the emir he sees the dragon standard and pennant all complete, sees the huge force of Arabs now revealed, filling the country as far as eye can reach, save where the host of Carlin sets its feet. Then the French king, I say, cries hardly, barons of France, good vassals all are ye. Many's the battle that you have fought in the field. See now these Paynims, a craven folk in need. Their false gods help not worthy of any peace. Who cares, my lords, how great their numbers be? Let him go home who will not ride with me. Then with the spurs he touches up his steed, so that beneath him Tinster gives 4 leaps. The French all say, why there's a king indeed. Or no, we're with you to a man, ride on, good liege.
That's the scene that mirrored the previous scene when Baligan got on his horse and spurred his steed, and the horse leapt in the air 50 feet, and his men applauded. Same thing happens here. Last 3 lines. So that beneath him, Tinsinger gives 4 leaps. The French all say, wow, there was a king indeed. It's a mirroring of that previous scene. All right, we're going to skip some. We're going to skip 240. The French actually charge, which that was kind of thrilling, and the battle begins. We're going to skip some of this. So we're going to skip 240, 241, 242, 243. We're going to skip those next 2 pages, 244, 245, 246, 247, and we'll start again on page 182.
How does the that's a question. How does the emir demonstrate the concept of gifting and life? 245.
Well, I'll read it to you. It says, now the emir appeals to all his troops, strike, Panem, strike, that's what you're here to do. I'll give you women, noble and fair of hue, honors and feasts and lands I'll give to you. So, I mean, he's basically trying to bribe us, put ransom, on the heads of the French troops. If you can win, you will be a wealthy man. So that's 78.
And the emir, he's part of he's fighting against Charlemagne.
The emir is valiant. Emir is his title. He's a Muslim holy man.
Can I go refill my water bottle?
Yes. You do it quickly, I don't want you to. All right, so we're skipped, now we're over here, and Bronwyn is gonna read.
King Canabius, the great emir's own brother, strikes in his ribs and sets his steed a running. He's drawn his sword with crystal-mounted pommel. On the helm's crest he deals Naaman a buffet, so that one half breaks with the blow of buckles, and through 5 laces and trinket blade goes cutting. The cap of mail avails him not a button. Through to the flesh the coif is shorn asunder. The great piece falls to earth for all its toughness. The fearful blow staggered the duke and stunned him. Saved by God's aid, it would have quite undone him. But he had gripped the horse's neck and clung there. Should now the Paynims get a chance to redouble. Dead were the baron before he could recover. Lo, Charles of France speeds to the warrior's succor.
Naaman almost gets killed, but I just want you to notice it says, saved, it says the fearful blow staggered the duke and stunned him. Saved by God's aid, it would have quite undone. So he's giving God the credit for surviving. He should have died, but he didn't. So we'll go to Abby.
He who reads in the most severed tales, but he with me is such a sword that iron ties, knowing you better not have naked. All her powers are himself against him. Iron heart he lays his shield and runs it. And of his hallmark he smashes through the until he strikes the side of the
And we'll just go on to Matthew.
King Charlemagne is greatly grieved in mind, thus to see Naaman wounded before his eyes, to see the blood on the green grass run bright. Now in his ear the emperor softly cries, Naaman, fair sir, keep closely at my side. The miscreant's dead that pressed your heart a while. I've run through and done for him this time. The duke makes answer, your debtor, sir, am I. I'll not forget it if I come through alive. Then close together in love and faith they ride, with 20,000 good Frenchmen, true and tried, who never sees each other, or sees each one to hew and smite.
And we'll just go to Tim.
Alright, now the emir goes riding through the field on Guineman's account. He rides at speed. Against his heart he breaks the silver shield, rips up the hauberk with all its banded steel. Twixt flank and flank he splits his midriff clean, and flings him dead from his swift running steed. Richard the Old, the lord of Normandy, he slays the Laurent of Jaboyne, all 3. The Paynim's cry. What does it say?
Precious.
Is brave indeed. Strike, Baron, strike, assure defense.
What is precious?
That's sword.
It's the sword and their war cry. So they're getting closer. The two emperors are getting closer, literally physically closer to each other, so that they are actually fighting at the very end. Yeah.
But where's Ganelon in all this?
Remember, where's Ganelon right now?
He's captured.
He's captured. He's with Charlemagne, or was with Charlemagne, but we haven't seen or heard anything of him since they tied him up and captured him. We will. The end of the book ends with Ganelon.
And the Valignant, what part? Is he like a Saracen? Or is he-
Yeah, he's the head of all the of all of Islam. All right, Brian? Yes, yes.
How brave to see the Arab knights engaged, the men of ocean argue in the scalar rave, thrusting and striking to give their spears full play. Nor the French once dream of giving way, many and many on either side are slain. Till vesper tide the fierce encounters rage, and heavy loss is the Frankish lords sustained, with worse to come before the day is gained.
I think there's a question there. What's in store? It's question number 79. What is the fate that's in store for the French troops? It says, heavy losses the Frankish lords sustain, with worse to come before the day is gained. So what's being foreshadowed? Zoe?
They're gonna die.
The French, right. The French are gonna lose a lot of men. We know they're gonna win, because this is an epic poem ultimately, but they will lose men in the process, so, Natalie.
Both French and Arabs are fighting the world. What spears are shattered, how many lances split. Uzo had seen their shields smashed off into bits, heard the bright hauberks cried as the murmuring ripped, heard the harsh spear upon the helmet ring, seen all those knights out of the saddles built, and the whole earth was dead with death and death-filled cries filled. Might long remember the face of suffering. This is the battle, harsh and endure and grim. Now the Emir invokes his deities. Mayhound, Apollyon, and Termagant, that is. O Lord, my gods, I have served you well, hear this. Now of fine gold I'll make your images, and probably grant me grace to win. When lo, Galphin appears his favorite, evil indeed the news he is to bring. Valiant sire, for you the day goes ill. Your son is lost, you have lost Malprimus, and Canvas, your brother too is killed. It is 2 Frenchmen that have the luck of it. The emperor's self was one of them, I think. He is the great stature of bears him like a king. White is his beard as any flower of spring. Then the Emir had his browlet sink, and all his face is darkened and dim. It seems to him he'll die of grief for whip. Bangaloo or Outremer he falls.
Well, there's not a question here, but I'd like you to point out that Valagant's son is dead, and a couple of his brother is dead, and one of his best generals is dead, and the guy who told him this says your day goes ill. So this does not look good for Valagant or the troops. Zoe, it gets worse. There's more evidence that the battle is going poorly for them. His friend tells him, "You are dead, Valagant. Not all your gods can save you from mishap." So again, more evidence that things are not going to work. He's going to send in his reserves. The Turks, the Giants, the Arabs, the Africans are going to come in and fight. So he's down to his last group. Kimber.
The great Emir has let his beard flow forth. It is as white as any flower on thorn. He'll not stay hidden for aught that may befall. Now to his lips a trumpet has he caught, and blows so loud the pagans hear the call. From every side they rush to the assault. The man of Ocean, whiny and bray and squall, those of Argyle, like dogs are yelping all. They try
charge the Franks with such outrageous force. They break the press and scatter all abroad. Beneath this shock 7,000 fighters fall.
We'll keep reading, I'll do it. Count Ogier was never meek of mood, vassal more staunch, the Bernie never endued. When he beheld the French ranks broken through, he calls on Thierry, and his name, circle his name, you'll see him again. He's a big part of the last scene of the book. He called on Thierry, and that of Argonne was Duke, Count Jazeran and Geoffrey d'Anjou, and Carlin's self he sternly thus rebukes. See how the painters make havoc of your troops. God smite the crown from off your head of you. If for this shame you take vengeance, do not take vengeance due. There's none replies one word to this reproof. They spur their steed, let their bridles loose, and ride to strike them where'er there's most to do. So briefly, the French suffer kind of a defeat. Their ranks are broken, and Naaman, I think it is, Naaman, is it Naaman, or somebody, Ogier maybe, says, we can't allow this. You know, the Paynims have broken through. We've got to do something about this. I'll keep reading. Bravely fights King Charlemagne this day. Brave is Duke Naaman, brave is Ogier the Dane. Geoffrey, who bears the gonfalon, is brave. Bravest of all is Dan Ogier the Dane. He spurs his horse and lets him run apace. The dragon bear with furious force assails and sends him crashing. Goes down Ambur full weight, dragon and ensign and all upon the plain. Baligan sees his pennon cast away, sees Mahoun's banner brought to a sudden stay. Then the emir begins to be afraid. Look at question number 80. It says, how does the emir echo the Saracens' loss of faith? So they had a couple of them told him, we're going to lose. And now he agrees because he's getting scared. He says, the narrator says he begins to be afraid. Notice what the French respond. The wrongs with him, the rights with Charlemagne. He even admits, the narrator, that the right is with Charlemagne. The Arab Paynims falter amid the fray. The emperor's voice rings out, to aid, will you not help me, Lord Barons, of God's name? The Franks reply, why ask, you do us shame. Cursed be he that will not strike a man. So what happens next, and I'm going to ask Freddie to help us out here. Yeah.
Sorry, how did you say the French reacted to the statements?
Well, the statement is, the emperor says to aid, he sees the battle, and the emperor says, help me. And they say, why are you asking? You shame us by asking. Of course we'll help you. So the emir is afraid. The French still need some help. Charlemagne asks for help, and the barons say, of course we'll help you. That's a dumb question. You could say that to a king. Right.
Which one?
258. We just read a couple of these.
Alright. The day draws on, twilight begins to lower. Paynim and Frank renowned swords throughout valiant are they that have disposed of powers. Neither forgot they are the battle cry to shout. From Emir the call, what is that?
Precious.
For sounds, sharp martyr shouts not joy. His battle cry renewed. They know each other by their quick calls and loud. Each in mid-field has sought his clay and found. They meet, they charge, exchanging mighty clouds. On the range, shields crash round the spearheads stout. Fleeing from the bosses, they break them all about. They rend the hauberks, the mail rings, falling showers, but both their bodies are left untouched and sound. The girths are burst, the saddles swivel round. They fall to earth, and both the kings are down. But to his feet, each of them lightly bound. Great is their failure. At once their swords are out. Nothing at all from heart to pound right now. They will not cease till one lies on the ground. Wait, so it's like, are they both like?
They're both unhorsed. They're both off their horses. Their horses have been shot out from under them, so to speak, and they are now going to fight each other, man to man. Why don't we go to Fiona?
Charles of Fair France is a great man of might, and the Emir knows the knot of fear or flight. Their naked swords they brandish now on high, lay on the shield stiff strokes from either side, sharing the leather and wood of double ply. The rivets fall and shreds the buckles fly, and their bare burnings now breast to breast they fight. The glittering sparks flash from their helmets bright. Nothing at all can ever end their strife, till once confess he's on the other side.
Again, it's almost comical the way these two men are treating each other. Hayden can read it, but each is telling the other, "No, you got to quit. You got to become a pagan." And he said, "No, you got to quit. You got to become a Christian. It's like you and your brother or you and your sister fighting. You know, say uncle. You know, you have to give in." So that's what's happening.
Who's the Emir? Do you think the Charles can see that thou repent what thou hast done to me? My son is slain, I know it was by thee, and on my lands thou wrongfully hast seized. Become my man, and I will be thy liege. May come and serve me from here unto the east. Quoth Carlin, nay, I hold it treachery. Never to Paynims may I show love or peace. Do thou confess the faith of God, by God revealed. Take Christendom, and thy fast friend I'll be. The King Almighty, then serve thou fully. Quoth Paladin, thy sermons that I'll preach. Till preached. Once more swords they battle each to each.
Let's just read one more and we'll just sort of summarize it. So Dave, if you read the next one.
61.
Yes.
The great Emir is full of power and skill. On Carlin's helm he lays a mighty hit, that on his head the steel is rent and split. Downward the blade through hair and scalp he brings, and of the flesh shears off a whole palm's width, so that the bone shows bare beneath the skin. King Carlin reels and well nigh falls with it, but God wills not he be o'ercome or killed. Saint Gabriel comes hastening down to him, and what saith he? Art thou about, great king?
So do you see the picture? The Emir practically kills Charlemagne. And it says that he takes about a hand's width of his head off and should be dead, but God saves him. It's God's will not he be overcome or killed. So God intervenes. And he sends Gabriel, who comes down. Again, it's almost comical. Gabriel looks at him and says, "What are you doing down there, Charlemagne? Get up. The battle's not over." You know, he doesn't, "Oh, I'm so sorry. Here, let me help you up." He says, "Get up. What are you doing?" I like the tone there. So we are almost at the end of this section. We'll stay a couple minutes, but we're not quite leaving. But tomorrow you'll do the review. Remember, the test is now Thursday, and that gives us plenty of time to finish and to review. So the test will be a week from tomorrow.